Bay Charter Township Board, and we'll call the meeting to order, and if you'll join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I do think it's safe to put your snow stakes away now, you think? Let's see, we'll do a roll call.
Bartlett.
Yes.
Imported.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Mild.
Here.
Walters.
Present.
Imported, I'm here. Friend.
Here. All right, with that, we will take a look at the agenda for a conflict of interest. On our agenda tonight, we have typical consent agenda that does have disposal of office equipment on it, an emergency operations plan, Planet Software, Woodgate Ridge, water and sewer turnover, Michigan Recreation Passport resolution. That would be resolution number 9. And then under regular business, we have.
Can I correct you 1 minute?
Sure.
There is a resolution under the emergency operation plan.
Is that
would be
numbered as
9,
well? Okay, so we'll
And
have,
would be Wood Ridge.
okay, so we'll
And then it
have,
would be 11 for the passport.
okay. Wait, did you say Woodgate Ridge
There's a resolution in there.
for the turnover? What page is that on?
It starts at 65, never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't think there is a
Yeah,
resolution on
I was
that.
looking at it as the recreation passport, so
Yeah.
move them all up.
Okay, so we'll have the emergency operations plan under 9 and the recreation passport as 10. And then anything further that we do during business will be numbered accordingly. All right, and business before the Township Board, we have an introduction to the new DPW director, potential closed session regarding Lamar, Beach District Plan, zoning ordinance amendments, part-time election assistant. Oh, and we did add in there, after Lamar, DNR 3 Mile Trail updated resolution. So with that, is there any conflict of interest with any of the items mentioned? Okay, if there's no conflict, is there an approval of the agenda?
I'd make that a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Motion by Lyle, supported by Cook to approve the agenda, and just noting that that does include the 3 Mile Trail updated resolution. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by no? Motion passes. We have an agenda and we'll move forward. This is the opportunity for public comment. If there's anybody in the public who would like to give their perspective to the board, please feel free to stand up, introduce yourself, and let us know what's on your mind. And I'm not seeing any takers, so we'll move forward to correspondence and report. Those are in your packet. They are online. And then we will move forward to the consent agenda. Sue, do you want to go over the consent agenda?
Certainly, bless you. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one board action without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent agenda be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will automatically be respected. If any item is not removed from the consent agenda, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. And so this evening, we have the board minutes from April 14, 2025, recommend approval. We have, under the check register summaries, we have the general fund, checks numbered 19463 through 19523 in the amount of $122,516.71. For the emergency fund, checks numbered 5907 through 5929 with one voided check 5910. and that total amount is $74,286.85. From the receiving fund, checks numbered 2973 through 2979 in the amount of $155,765.91. The escrow fund, checks numbered 2078 through 2085 in the amount of $14,994.95. One check in the road fund, that number is 120 for $95,884.38. We have two payrolls. The first payroll was dated April 6, 2025 through April 19, 2025. Checks numbered 7923 through 7925, totaling $76,021.84. And check payroll from 4/20/2025 through 5/3/2025 in checks 7926 through 7928, totaling $82,449.76 for a total payroll of $158,471.60. There are no budget adjustments under the consent agenda. And other items, we'll do a total amount of all the checks of $621,920.40. And under the other items, under H, 1 is the disposal of office equipment, 2 is the emergency operating plan, 3 is plant software, 4 is Woodgate Ridge water and sewer turnover, and 5 is the Michigan Recreation Passport Resolution, which is Resolution
10.
10, and the emergency operation plan is 9.
Okay, thank you. With that, is there anything that anyone would, if any member of the board, like anything removed from the consent agenda?
Number 5, Michigan Recreation Passport.
Okay, we will move that to number 5, and we will just put that right after the other DNR Trust Fund Trail Resolution.
Beth, I would like number 3.
Number 3. And we will put that, how about after the zoning ordinance amendments?
I just got a question on number 4.
Sure.
Woodgate, that's on Holiday Road by Vale Drive. I thought, and I could be mistaken, but I thought I remember that water and sewer we put in, it's private.
Not in that.
No,
Yeah.
but were they put in as private, is what I'm asking. And now they're being turned over?
This is the new section with the one building, and that's public in through there.
Okay.
Yeah, I can show you the plans on it.
Well, the reason I ask is because I just want to make sure if it was put in as private, that the tests were run before we took it over to make sure that everything was,
That's why that's one of the documents that we're waiting on. We know that they've done the test, but we're waiting on the readings on it. Yeah. Okay, with that, we will move items number 3 and 5. Is there any member of the public who would like anything removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll bring that back for a motion from the board for the consent agenda, except for items 3 and 5. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing items 3 and 5.
Is there support?
Support.
Okay, there is a motion by Bartlett and support by Walters. Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Lyle,
no,
Cook,
Yes.
M. Cortate,
Yes.
I vote yes. Friend.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. With that, we will move on with our agenda. Before us, first thing on the agenda, Department of Public Works. We have a thank you for being here, Greg and Chris, appreciate it. Department of Public Works Director introduction. Noah, why don't you stand up at the podium and say hi. This is, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you, Supervisor Friend. My name is Noah Carberg. I'm the newly hired Director of Public Works for Grand Traverse County. Again, thank you, Supervisor Friend, for your warm welcome. When I met with you a while ago, I was impressed when I asked you about the character of East Bay. You told me it was a warm, family-friendly, welcoming, great place to recreate, and in my mind, I was thinking, that sounds great. I'll take a 3-bedroom with a walkout on an acre. And then she told me what real estate prices were trending towards, and I said, okay, well, let's just focus right now on delivering services for your constituents and being a resource on any other matters. So, I don't think I have all of the technical answers you might have of the department right now. It has only been 2 weeks, but I have excellent staff available, and we look forward to being a resource. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. How's everything with the move going?
That's great. I'm up here and I'm settled now, and my wife and kids will be joining after the school year.
Well, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And you have very good staff. Kent and Diane will be very helpful to you, and look forward to working with you in the future. Does anyone have any questions for Noah? Okay. He even did take my ribbing about, U of M and the Buckeyes and all of that through his interview process, so
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
thanks for being here tonight. All right, with that, we will move on to a possible closed session. I'm going to get to the cover page on this.
You want me to make the motion?
Yeah, if you are at that
It's page 7.
page 70, thank you.
I have 86.
I make a motion to move that the board meet in closed session under MCL 15.268E of the Open Meetings Act, consulting with its attorney, Brad Weirda, I hope I didn't slaughter it, of Smith Johnson Attorney regarding trial settlement strategy in connection with the pending litigation Lamar OCI North LLC versus Charter Township of East Bay, United States District Court, West District of Michigan, case number 124 CV 5756, as the Open Meetings Act would have a detrimental financial effect on the litigation and settlement position of the public body.
Okay, is there support for that motion?
Support.
Okay, motion is made by Bartlett and supported by Cook. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
M. Cortate,
Yes.
Lyle,
Yes.
I vote yes. Friend.
Yes, that is the 2/3 that we need to go into closed session, so we will do that. And then we will be back for the remaining part of the meeting. Thank you.
Do you?
We played Hunger Games in there, and so we did lose one.
I think I see him going out the back door.
Okay, it is 7:43. Is there a motion to reconvene in open session?
Second.
There's a motion by Lyle and support by Porte to reconvene in open session. We'll do a roll call vote.
Lyle,
Yes.
Importate,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Portate, I say yes. And Friend.
Yes. Okay, Brad, we were in closed session. We discussed settlement opportunity that was before us. Would you go over the terms in the presented mediated settlement agreement?
I sure will. So under the terms of the proposed settlement, the current grandfathered non-conforming sign that's located at 1710 US 31 in East Bay will be taken down. A new billboard will be constructed at 1752 US 31 in East Bay. That new billboard will be 136 square feet in terms of the sign face. One of the sign faces will be digital. The other side will be static, not digital. It will have a maximum of 20 feet in height. The copy change on the digital side of the sign will be limited to one change per 30 seconds, and the sign will comply with the zoning ordinance in all of the other zoning requirements if something isn't listed in the settlement agreement. Lamar will also pay to the township $13,978, which were the attorney fees that were incurred through the ZBA variance process. And finally, the parties will sign a full release of each other, releasing any and all claims that they might have, and also execute a consent judgment that the court would then enter, which will dismiss the case in full.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the mediated settlement agreement, which is contingent upon board approval, in the case of Lamar OCI North LLC versus Charter Township of East Bay, as identified by Council Werda and depicted in the term sheet presented to the board?
So moved. Oh.
Sorry, I didn't make that motion.
Is there support? Okay, there's a motion by Bartlett and supported by Cortade regarding this mediated settlement, and Sue will do a roll call vote on that.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Portate,
Yes.
Lyle,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Cook.
No.
I vote yes. Friend.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much for your patience and going and waiting for the closed session, also for the board's time and attention to this, and to planning and zoning's and the ZBA's attention to this. So we'll move forward with that settlement agreement, and we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good evening. Okay, with that, we will move on to the DNR Trust Fund 3 Mile Trail updated resolution. You have this in your packet, and the issue with this is the DNR right now is going through all of their applications across the state and looking for administrative completeness, and we did have some things that we needed to provide in some of the applications. This is one of them where they needed to, we thought we were good, just identifying that we were further working with in collaboration with Chart Trails. They want to see something more specific than that. So Carl Ferguson, our grant writer, went through and delineated the total cost for this segment, that they wanted to see where the funding was coming from, even though it went beyond the $400,000 that we're asking for from the DNR Trust Fund. The $294,565 in matching funds that you see from the township is not a new request or a new ask or anything that's coming back before the board again. It's part of the $1 million that we've already committed to this trail project. And so with that, does anybody have any questions on this resolution? And if they do not, it would be 2025-11. Thank you. Is there a motion for Resolution 2025-11, support of the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant application?
I would make that motion.
Support.
Okay, motion is made by Bartlett, supported by Cook. Any further discussion? Do a roll call vote.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Lyle,
Yes.
and Corte,
No.
Walters.
Yes.
I vote yes. Friend.
Yes. Very good, thank you. We will go back now to item number 5 under the consent agenda. This is the Michigan Recreation Passport Resolution. And let me find the
Page
page.
65.
Thank you.
I think that's where it starts. Well, no,
71.
yeah. Sorry, that was way trim.
What was that again?
71.
71. Okay, you'll recall that we passed a recreation passport resolution previously. My recollection was that we didn't feel that at the time that we needed to have a match on the recreational passport. That's not accurate, and then through the administrative completeness, they identified that we needed to have a match on there. So what we have done is we have added nope, that's the Beach District Subplan on page 71.
Just say,
67.
I'm lost.
yeah, the resolution is on 67. The
That's all there is.
66 is.
Yep, so on page 68, you'll actually see the edit that is suggested for this resolution to fulfill the administrative completeness. And that is adding that there's a commitment of $50,000 of the township funds as a match upon successful award. That's based on the 25% that they require of the $150,000 ask. Actually, it's more than the 25% that they ask, again, trying to increase those points, but it's a $150,000 ask. And this would be Resolution 2025-12. Does anyone have any questions other than what page it's on? Again, page 67 and 68.
Can you explain again how was the oversight there, how it got overlooked that we needed to have a match?
I'm not really sure on this one. We did have a grant coordinator who was writing this one. My recollection, and I could be wrong if I remember, I recall thinking that there was not a match required on this one. I'm not sure where I heard or thought that from, or if that's in fact what I thought at the time, but we did not feel that we had to have it identified in the resolution at that time, and we do. So we're going back and correcting that. And it doesn't have to be 50,000, we can change that. I recall it being 20 to 25%, which would be pretty standard with their other grants. So you're looking at 30,000, in that range. A little over 30,000 for 25%.
Can I just have?
Sure.
When this was under the consent calendar agenda, we had made it 2025-10. So it's still 2025-10.
Okay, thank you. Rather than, I think I said 12 earlier or something. Okay,
Back and forth.
okay. Very good. Any other questions? Okay, there's a motion for Resolution 2025-10. Is there support?
Support.
Okay, support by Cook. Any further questions?
Is that with the change to make it a 30,000 instead of a 50,000?
No, 50.
So as presented, we'll do a roll call vote.
Can I-
Bartlett?
Oh, sure, wait, if there's a question.
One quick question.
Sure.
Related to all of the, kind of ongoing funding requests and grants that we're dealing with on the 3 Mile Trail and some of the other projects in the township, do we have like a kind of an executive summary maybe we could get of that tracks
We sure
some
can.
of this, like kind of pull it together, something that we could
Sure.
look at and see what we've asked for, what we've committed
Yeah.
in aggregate for each of these projects?
Yep, we sure can. We can put together a listing of the grants that we have that are outstanding, the grants that we have that are in application.
Okay.
And what we own.
Right, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
It does get
There's a lot.
a lot going
There's a lot.
on, yep.
there are a lot of grants, yeah.
So with the roll call, Bartlett,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
M. Cortade,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Lyle,
Yes.
and vote yes. Friend?
Yes. Okay, very good. We will move on to the Beach District Plan. Claire is here. Claire, would you like to do a recap? And we are on page 71 now.
We are, 71, yep. So this is actually kind of 2 action items in 1 agenda item. So the first one is, if you'll recall, in March, the Township Board sent the Beach District Sub-Area Plan out for the 42-day public review period. So that went out. We only received 1 official comment. That was from Garfield Township. They enjoyed it. They watched the video presentation on the Corridor Improvement Authority. But so after the 42-day public comment period, the Planning Commission held a public hearing last week. They unanimously adopted this as a sub-area plan to the master plan. Generally, it stops there, but just given the kind of financial implications of this, especially the consideration of creating a corridor improvement authority, which the public hearing and stuff would be conducted by the Township Board. We're looking for approval from the Township Board for this plan as well. So there's 1 suggested motion to approve the resolution. I think that would be number 11 to adopt.
12.
I'm sorry, 12, to adopt the Beach District plan. The second action that we're looking for tonight is Beckett Rader has taken the lead on facilitating that 9-month public visioning process, have created the plan. We asked them to provide a scope of work for a contract amendment to help facilitate the process of actually establishing a corridor improvement authority. So what we're looking for tonight is to move forward, working with Beckett and Rader to kind of go through all the administrative process that's required to set up that corridor improvement authority. They have worked with other communities to set up corridor improvement authority as well as a DDA, which is a very similar process under the state act. So that's a $10,000 scope of work. It would be a contract amendment. We have funding under the USDA grant to fully cover that $10,000. But we would still be looking for approval by the Township Board for the contract amendment. You can also see, I think it was helpful, I asked them just to put together a timeline of what that would look like moving forward with creation of the Corridor Improvement Authority. So right now we're on May 12th, adopting the district plan. But kind of moving forward with it, you're sending out your intent to set the public hearing, you're meeting with the taxing jurisdictions, which is going to be quite a bit of legwork of just meeting, communicating, getting feedback. There's a lot of different options in terms of kind of cost sharing and, whether or not different taxing jurisdictions are 100% contributing or certain percentages. So Beckett Rader does have some experience working with those different taxing authorities and kind of helping facilitate that process.
Okay, any questions for Claire?
Yeah.
Glenn?
If I'm understanding this right, the authority be just like what the city has for a TIF? So the taxes would not go to the taxing authorities. They would stay within,
Corridor Improvement Authority.
right.
Yeah, that incremental increase. So they'd cap it, all the current taxes going to all the different authorities would continue to go, but that incremental increase in the taxable value. I will say, though, we can create this Corridor Improvement Authority, and we don't have to use TIF. TIF is one of the tools that we can use, but we can also create a Corridor Improvement Authority and use that as a board to seek grant funding, to work on, other types of initiatives. So generally, when you create a Corridor Improvement Authority, one of the most effective tools that you have at your disposal is the tax increment financing, but you can create a Corridor Improvement Authority and then not enter into a TIF plan. And so that's a policy decision that the board would have at their disposal really at any time.
And who would control the authority?
There would be, the township board would ultimately control the authority. You would approve the budget, you would approve, really any type of actions that are undertaken by the authority, but there would also be a board that's made up of business owners, property owners that make recommendations to the township board.
They would be appointed by the board.
Yep.
And also special assessment districts are not captured with this.
Okay, meaning
Fire, EMS.
would not be captured then?
Right?
Right.
Yeah.
They'd have to pay.
And how many years would this be for when they create
That would be part of us setting it up. I've seen there oftentimes, 25 to 30 years, but
Yeah.
that's,
No, well, that's what the city was.
yeah.
That's the only one I'm even halfway familiar with.
Okay, other questions for Claire? Okay, is there a motion regarding Resolution 2025-12, which would be the adoption of the East Bay Charter Township Beach District Subplan?
I'll make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Motion is made by Cook and supported by Walters. Further discussion? And a roll call vote.
Cook,
Yes.
Walters,
Yes.
Bartlett,
Yes.
Lyle,
Yes.
M. Cortez,
Yes.
I vote yes. Friend.
Yes. Okay, on to the other item of business with this, and that is the Beckett and Rader scope of services. What's the title on that? Proposal for the, excuse me, hold on one second. Corridor improvement proposal for $10,000. Again, this would be covered by the USDA grant.
I would make a motion to approve the proposal for $10,000.
Is there support?
Support.
A motion by Bartlett and support by Cook to approve the proposal for the corridor improvement consulting work with Beckett and Rader. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? Motion passes unanimously. All right, we are off onto the zoning ordinance amendments, the next item on our agenda, Claire. And I believe that starts on page 76.
Okay, so as soon as you finish writing a zoning ordinance, you're immediately ready to start revising and revisiting. So these are very kind of clerical in nature, and we worked with the planning commission to go through those. Mindy, are you looking at this? No, okay, I thought maybe there was an issue with the zoning amendment, but, so we have 3 different zoning amendments. There were 3 public hearings at the last planning commission meeting. The first, I'll just kind of summarize them. They're all in your packet. The first one is the wireless communication facilities. This would be an amendment to remove the requirements for planning commission site plan review for a wireless communication facility that's on township-owned property. So it would basically treat township-owned property the same way that any other township-owned property is treated for some sort of a development. So based on legal counsel, this is how we've always operated in practice, and this is also best practice consistent with state statute and township property. The second zoning amendment is to specify that non-motorized access connections need to be provided in tandem with the vehicular access connections that we require between properties as private developers redevelop. We have been able to get developers to provide those just by kind of working with them, but we don't have anything specifically in our ordinance that we can point to. The third one is the vehicular stream crossing. This was the exact same language that was adopted in December of 2023, and for whatever reason, it didn't get into the zoning ordinance. So this is just taking it and putting it into the zoning ordinance. So happy to answer any questions. Mindy, I'm sure, would be happy to answer any questions as well.
Any questions specific to those zoning ordinances, those amendments?
Number 2. You know, been around too long. But I thought we had something that's like any new development had to have sidewalks.
So we did have that requirement along the public right-of-way for the East Bay Corners District. I think just the East Bay Corners, and I think the Airport Service District. With the new zoning ordinance, we require sidewalks or non-motorized facility, depending on the non-motorized plan, along any new development, whether it's multifamily, commercial, industrial. This difference is not so much along the right-of-way, but when you're making an access connection, like the Crimson development that we just approved on Bill Klaus's property, kind of in the back of the property, we're requiring like a access connection for a vehicular drive, and it's basically just a stub road and it ends there. This will require also a sidewalk next to it, because we require sidewalk internal to the entire site, and we'll require sidewalks internal to the adjacent site, and so we want to make sure those sidewalks are connecting.
So just a connection thing. Well, I'm just go back 25 years, and I can remember when they talked about this addition, that the sidewalk out there, someone had to point out that, well, we have an ordinance that says everybody else has the sidewalk. We don't have to stick to it, but we should have it. So that's why I thought that was already in place, but you're right. I guess it's just along the main corridor, but I assumed, again, over the years that we had to require sidewalks and everything.
The exciting thing with the grant that we just received last week is we will be getting a sidewalk now connecting to the intersection.
Very exciting. Yep, want to congratulate you and Carol on authoring the RAP grant and the award. That's pretty exciting, very exciting.
It is exciting.
So with this, is there a motion to introduce the 3 zoning amendments and to place them on the June agenda?
And make that motion.
Okay, is there support?
I support it.
Motion is made by Bartlett and supported by M. Cortate. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed by no? Did you have a question, Glenn?
One question.
Passed
Who's
unanimously.
responsible for the sidewalks once they're put in front of businesses? As
In
far
front
as,
of the businesses?
Upkeep, is it the
The
township?
no.
So technically, it's the private property owners that are along that property. The township will be maintaining like the trail, the safe routes to school. That's part of our grant agreement, is that we provide the long-term maintenance. So I think that's going to be a conversation that the township needs to have long-term. But in terms of individual property owners that are putting in those trails, that would fall on them to maintain.
I just
along with
looked at
their
that,
other-
the sidewalk ordinance on 31, and it's the property owner. I mean, they're closed in the winter, but as far as, if there's ever any crack or missing,
Lift.
yeah, whatever. Yeah. Okay, item 3, Planet Software, and Mindy, you had a question on that regarding,
Really, it's just the implementation of it and how much time we're going to need contracted staff to get it implemented.
I did talk with Steve Kernovic, and I also talked with Rod Taylor, who handles the COAs, and I had originally called them for a scope of services, like a contract, and they said they don't really feel that that's probably necessary, could just cover it under the current contract. They didn't anticipate it would be that voluminous, so.
So the next question is, what about going backwards with it? Is it going to be something that can go back and forth with our existing software? Is it going to be standalone where we bring in,
So
but
Planet,
it doesn't come back out? Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, I do. Planet was just telling us they are in negotiations with BSNA to handle CIP, because that's the other thing, is I looked into, can BSNA have the bare bones component of this? I mean, just use theirs, but they really don't. You can use BSNA more for your asset tracking, but not the capital improvements portion. And so they mentioned that they were in talks with BSNA about being able to coordinate that. You can definitely do the Excel upload and the Excel download into it. I think they're looking ultimately at a higher degree of,
Compatibility.
but I've lived through that before. And so I'm not counting on that, but I am happy that we're able to upload it and then download it as well. So,
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the, what was it?
Purchase of Planet software.
Yes, that.
okay, there's a motion, is there support?
Support.
Okay, motion by Walters, was that you, Matt? Support by M. Cortade. Any further discussion?
I'll just make one quick comment. Just got to remember with any of this stuff, garbage in, garbage out. So hopefully it's done right.
And that's why we're taking a look at that chart, because sometimes, they're just, and that, it's a voluminous chart. So, we need to make sure, because otherwise it doesn't help us with the capital improvement plan. So yeah, any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed by no? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Claire, appreciate it. We are on to the last item. Am I correct? We are at the last item? I know we moved some things around, just keep me straight here, but I show it's our last item. Okay, and that is the part-time election assistant. What page do we start on that? Page 83. Sue, do you want to recap your cover sheet?
Sure, it was pretty thorough. I put 3 ads in the paper requesting interest. I also sent out an email to all of my poll book specialists and chairs to see if they had interest. Those that were working full-time or retired that didn't have an interest said so. Of that, I had 3 responses, interviewed 2. They were both requesting part-time, both very qualified, very willing to work on a flexible schedule, willing to share those. When I did the division out, it's about 16 hours a week to stay within the budget. And I found local certification for the QVF and online, so they don't need to travel outside of the Grand Traverse area. Then they can be certified and they can bring some much-needed help to keep us on top of things for elections. So there will be no, just so you all know, there, off the table are those extra items of attending ongoing education through the Institute, those things that would call them away at this point in time. There isn't money in the budget, and they were perfectly fine that that was not something that was going to be required.
Oh, the certification that was
Above
in
and
the
beyond
job
the
description. Okay, okay. All right, good information to know. Questions for Sue?
I guess the question I'd have is, I know when we talked about this, we talked about 1 part-time person. And then tonight, we're looking at 2 part-time people for the same.
And so
I
they're
guess I'm-
splitting the town.
I'm wondering why.
Because they're both very qualified, and they were willing to split the time that the board approved. And to have 2 people that can step in and help Holly and I when it's busy, to register folks, to update the QVF, that just gives us more complete ability to take care of our residents when it gets busy.
How many hours does it take to get certified?
Well, they're going to, it's about 50, but it's there's 2 There's a 2-day class in June. I have it. Hang on. They will, one of them will be attending, it's at Garfield on the 17th and 18th, and it's from 9 to 4 each day. And then they will do online after that for probably about the same amount of time. And then the other one is out of town, so they're going to do all of theirs remotely. And then that certifies them to be able to get on the state qualified voter file with additional training from myself to let them know what it is that they need to look at. So it will be flexible. This was, the hours were based on if they could start as early as the 8th next week. But it doesn't look as though they'll be able to start that quick, so that's just going to give us a little more flexibility. And there is no cost for that QVF training. There is cost, I asked for that in the, as a budget amendment, for a $100 membership for both of them to have free access to the listserv for the packets of information for other trainings. They go out on the website, they have complete website access for the MAMC, and then the small amount of traveling that would be reimbursed. So it's a total of $300 that I'm asking as an amendment for the budget. That would be $200 for creating an association and dues, and then $100 for travel expenses.
Okay, what about hotels?
It's at Garfield Township Hall. They're not going anywhere. They're not staying in any hotels.
Oh, I thought you said it was 2 days.
At Garfield Township Hall. They'll go home at night. They travel throughout the state. That's why I wanted to make sure we could take advantage of one that's right here. So they'll go over to Veterans Drive and go back home.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying, these two people would not work at the same time.
They may, but
You only
they're
got
going
so
to
many
have 8
hours.
hours. If we stick with 16, they'd have 8 hours in the week that they could work. Sometimes it may work that I want them both there for 2 hours. Both of them have outside jobs, and so they are very happy with the flexible. And I'm very confident that we'll be able to negotiate some time that is helpful for us as well as usable for them.
Okay.
Other questions? You're good? Other questions? Okay. If this is what works for you, this is what works for you. I mean, I see, to me, when I look at this, it makes maybe a little bit more sense having one person instead of the two, just because of space, computer, all of those things, time, training time, like out of the 526 hours, like how many are spent in training, so forth. But it doesn't really increase the cost substantially, very minimally, to do it this way. And if that's the way you would want to proceed to go forward, I don't have an issue with that. But just that you have thought of those items, like, that it's not the most efficient maybe way. But if,
I also understand that it's not a highly sought-after position after all of the attempts to encourage folks to come in. Thankfully, we have those that have shown an interest. We have 2 computers that are all set up already because
Okay.
we used them in 2024 with the 2 that became certified. They could be there at the same time. They use tables.
Okay.
We've got tables that they can use again, so if they do.
yeah,
come
and
at
we've got
same
the
time-
flex space by the copier too, so,
So, I mean, it definitely isn't ideal,
yeah.
but we're working within the parameters that has been provided. I think this is a great solution.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I guess I'd just like to make a statement that I don't have a problem with one person. I got a concern when we put 2 on there, and then they're both gone the same time to get trained, which they got to get trained.
And they won't be, because one will do all virtual. They're not attending that training.
Okay.
I do understand the limited response, because we have 2 other positions out right now, and I've had limited response in some of them. Been, yeah. So I do certainly understand that. Is there a motion? I would ask real quickly that if it's, these budget amendments, it's not timely, it's not time sensitive that we pass those tonight. If we could just pull those budget amendments and we'll put them with the quarterly report so that we have all the budget amendments together. We did the ones in April, so we'll put those in July.
There will be others as well, because we do have supplies of MasterCards and ID cards that I have to order that will have to be brought forward too, so.
Yeah.
I can do a whole slate.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
I'll make a motion to accept the appointments of Kristen Atkinson and Emily Ramelkamp as part-time election assistants in the clerk's office, and
Yeah, we'll just end it there.
we'll just end it right there.
Support.
Okay, there is a motion by Walters and support by Cook. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, as opposed by no?
No.
Okay, show that Lyle dissents. And with that, I believe we had our second public comment. If there's anyone who would like to deliver public comment, you are more than welcome to. Noah?
For one thing first.
Sure.
We did not approve the closed session minutes.
Okay, all
I'd
right.
like that we take care of that.
Sure, that's fine. We should, we could have done that with B, and we can just correct that. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the closed session.
Support.
Okay, motion by Bartlett, support by M. Corte to approve the closed session minutes. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed by no? Motion passes unanimously. All right, again, public comment? All right, we appreciate you sticking with us. And upcoming meeting dates, June is our next meeting. I don't foresee a special meeting in between now and then, but as always, we would keep you noticed. If there's nothing further, then we stand adjourned, and thank you for your time and attention tonight.